The views expressed on this episode of the Came to Believe Recovery podcast do not necessarily reflect those of KHLT, Take 12 Recovery Radio, or our affiliates. The opinions on this episode should not be taken as medical, psychological, or professional advice and are those of the host, co-host, and guests. KHLT and Take 12 Recovery Radio are not affiliated with any particular 12-step fellowship. Well, greetings, my friends. I am the Monty'man from Take 12 Recovery Radio, and this is the Came to Believe Recovery Podcast. And now, here are your podcasting broadcasters, Tom Williams and Alicia Martinez, to introduce this week's show.
Welcome to the Came to Believe Recovery Podcast. I am Alicia, and I am here with Tom and the Monty'man. Hi, guys.
Hey, Alicia. I have a question for you.
Uh-oh.
Tom, are you in a New York state of mind?
Oh, my gosh. Yes.
Always.
Well, I'm in New York. I don't know if I'm in New York state of mind.
So Alicia, did you catch the little instrumental piece at the beginning?
I did.
Yeah, but what does that mean?
Billy Joel.
It's different.
It's Billy Joel's song called New York State of Mind.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Anyway, I interrupted. Go ahead.
Well, welcome, Alicia. Thanks. I'm Tom. I'm a recovered alcoholic. We always say these things when we start meetings. It's hard for me to not say it. And yes, I'm in New York City today. And 2 days ago, I was in California with this team here.
We were with each other for a long
fabulous
time.
Team as we were presenting our first on-ground retreat at the Salvation Army in Pasadena, California. And what a weekend it was, huh, guys?
Man, powerful stuff, man. Seeing people's lives changed right before our eyes. Something else.
You know,
it was amazing.
You know, the feedback that I'm getting from all the command and everybody is absolutely fabulous. Is not really unexpected because we get it all the time. But you know, we got our work cut out for us because we all noticed, I think, and being there all weekend, how many different 12-step influences there are on people.
Woo, yeah.
It's just everybody with a little different twist, and the sponsor tells them to do this, and the sponsor, but they're significant deviations from the program that we were presenting. And that's presenting, you know, it presents a time problem. You know, we're just going to have to unravel this over time, but it probably won't change overnight.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to be a challenge for the Salvation Army and for us. Not unwinnable, but it's going to take a combined effort for us to just move forward and begin to all speak the same language and, you know, be committed to the same thing. No, you're not doing your 4-step again. No, you don't go continue to do your steps with your sponsor. You did that.
But many of them were saying that even after, like,
yes.
I'm on step 3 with my sponsor, and I'm, you know, they're going to continue. I'm like, you just did this. You just did the 12 steps, right? So many of them. Well, one guy though at the end said, "I'm going to tell my sponsor I'm done." Remember he said that? Because they are. I mean, they can do 10, 11, and 12 with their sponsor and go into detail, but they don't have to go back and now finish the steps. They did them.
Alicia, you're cutting out. Okay. I think what happens is when we're taught something incorrectly, in the beginning, we don't know any different because we don't know. And so we believe what we're being taught. And then when somebody presents that we've been taught wrong, we truly believe we've been taught right, even though in spite of all the evidence in front of us, we seem like we have a loyalty to hang on to the things we were taught wrong because they were such a big part of us for so long. It's back to It's the same old thing of wanting to hold on to our old behavior, our unauthentic self. We just want to feed it, and it's a hard nut to crack because we've been doing it for so long. So you're right; it's not going to happen overnight, no matter how enthusiastic people are. The thing that was wonderful, though, is the thing that doesn't change, that is permanent, is a whole bunch of guys and gals gave their lives to the God who is God, and now their position in Christ is secure, and you can't take that away from them no matter what.
You can't take it away. We got to make sure that it wasn't just a wonderful motivational weekend. And that's, them say, yeah, that was fun. It was a motivational weekend. But, that's what ended up happening really at City Teams. It was, they did a wonderful motivational weekend, and we loved the presentation. And we're like, no, you actually take your steps.
Yeah.
So we're fighting this wheel that we've been fighting, or this big boulder roll, this big thing that's just been rolling for 50 years against us. And we're pushing back at it. The good thing within the system of the Salvation Army is they're on our side. They want the culture to change.
Yeah.
So they're going to listen. And the reason we're in there is because they recognized all this, that everybody's doing all kind of different stuff. And they had no control. There's no consistency. And so I think we got a good shot with this partnership at starting to turn this ship around in a movement to bring this back to the recovery of the founders, guys. It's very, very exciting as we just started this thing this last weekend in not so sunny California, right?
It cleared up a little bit during.
Yeah.
You're not in LA.
No, I mean when we were out there in LA,
Yeah, a
it
little
cleared up
bit.
a little bit.
It was, I don't mind overcast. I live in it all the time. I like a nice cool day. It was just fine.
I rather it like that than hot.
Well, it was, I'm changed from it. I get something out of every one that I do, but this one was really special. We came away and really, and the team, we had some new team people on board with Monty coming to help, and Roger taking a more active role, and Anna Marie coming and helping. So the team is growing. For all of you out there, we're going to keep growing this team so that when they call, we can respond.
Yep. And we have another one in Long Beach in a month.
In a month.
Right.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
if you're
Is-
out there saying, is this all you do is Salvation Armies? No, there's one in Malibu, which is open to the public. I'll go on our
Last
website
weekend
and
of
get it.
June. Yeah.
Don't wait, guys, because I'm going to a recovery roundup in California next week with about 300 people coming, and we're going to have a registration table. And the scuttlebutt is a whole bunch of those people will sign up for this because it's right up their alley. So if you're thinking of signing up, this would be the time to do it.
And they can sign up at cametobelieverecovery.org and click on events.
Yep.
Ta-da!
Hey, Monty, talk to me. We were all together this weekend, and Monty was telling us about how many downloads this show's even getting right now. And it's pretty good,
Yep.
right? For the short amount of
14
time we've actually been broadcasting.
Yeah, 1,400 last week. 1,400 downloads last week. And keep in mind, that doesn't necessarily mean that everybody that downloaded listened to the whole show that moment. It just means there was 1,400 downloads. What I have found is there is a percentage of people that download that, they collect shows, but they don't go back and listen to them necessarily. But for the most part, people do. So collectively, through the different podcast apps like Spotify and iHeartRadio and Apple Podcast and Podbeam and all that kind of stuff, right? Collectively, it was 1,400. So,
I
YouTube, huh?
I believe they all downloaded it. They all listened to it all the way through, and their lives are now changed.
Yeah. Well,
And
I'm
they're going to
holding.
sign up for Malibu.
I'll sign up for
Right.
that. I'll hold on to that. I'll hold on to that. Yes, you downloaded it. You downloaded it for a reason to listen to it. You listened to it, and now you're going to pass it on. So, listeners, listen. Here's the thing: if you find value in what we're doing, share the podcast. Share it with other people. It's free to do that. You can download. You can burn them on CDs. You do whatever you want. You're not limited to do that. So do it. Do it now. Well, wait till the show's over.
You can send one while you're listening.
Mhm.
All
Yeah.
right, so today we're talking about relationships and recovery. Everything relationships, whether it's dating and marriage, family dynamics with kids and siblings and parents, and how sobriety might even bring challenges into your relationships now that you're not the same person, and rebuilding relationships and all that kind of good stuff. Where do we want to start
Let's
with that?
start. I want to see what you guys think about this, especially Monty, because you've got a lot of experience and you sponsor a lot, I think, and have.
Yeah.
This, you know, kind of, unspoken rule or spoken rule, but it's kind of out there is no dating until you're sober a year. What do you think about that?
Right. I think that probably, I'm not sure that it's horrible advice. I think it probably, we have to look at the origins of it. I think it probably came out of the treatment community. And one of the things that we have to remember is although treatment is not AA, treatment's not NA, and that kind of thing, treatment is triage. AA is recovery, if that makes sense. So even though we have our views on that kind of thing, there's some wisdom in what they give to their clients, and I don't think we should discount it altogether. I think no dating in your first year. There may be some wisdom in that. I think it's an individual thing, but as an individual who may be new in recovery, they say take what you need and leave the rest. I didn't know what I needed. I needed somebody to guide me. I didn't know what I needed. So for me to be tasked with that, I chose all sorts of ridiculous stuff. And getting into a relationship my first year, it might be your 3 years before you're ready to do that.
Right.
There might be some truth to, you want to date, buy a house plant for a year and keep it alive. Then buy a dog for a year and keep it alive. And then you're ready to date. Now, we laugh at that. There may be a little truth to it. I don't know. But we're talking about people who are compulsive. So they're probably not going to heed the advice in a lot of cases, right? Certainly, some of my sponsees have not heeded that advice, and some of them, it's worked out amazingly well. I wasn't able to go to his wedding, but this weekend, one of my buddies got married to somebody he met in Celebrate Recovery just 8 months ago. But everything about their relationship and the way that they've gone through it, because they both have a relationship with God, it's working out well. I've seen other people crash and burn. So I don't think we should be so quick to discount no dating in your first year, but I wouldn't make it a hard and fast rule either.
I generally agree. I think it's pretty good advice. And like you said, it's a individual. Each case may change a little, and depending upon the destruction a person's trying to pull themselves out of, what makes sense and what doesn't make sense. But I don't make it for anybody I sponsor hard and fast rule either.
And
We do keep talking, and there's a point where I would say, yeah, I don't know if I would. You can't even keep your whatever it is.
I know.
And you wait a little bit. You're just about to blow this thing to pieces, especially if they broke up somebody and 3 weeks later want to go back dating somebody else. It's probably a rebound. It's probably not a good idea. I give them the old, if it's meant to be, it'll be in another couple months. That's, So,
Well, you know what, Tom? Here's
Yeah.
the thing too, though. People got to watch out. Talking to the men, because I only sponsor men. Hey guys, when the skirt becomes your higher power, you are in trouble. And that's what happens a lot of times. You can see this stuff starting to, they start backing off from things. Well, I can't show up for our step work tonight because it's her birthday. You know, you've been
Yeah.
dating her for 2 weeks. What do you mean it's her birthday?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah, I mean, not this is a different subject, but they say the same sometimes, the 1 year thing for sponsoring somebody. And that may
yeah,
have more,
They do
that may
that on
actually have,
Celebrate Recovery.
yeah, I mean, that may have some wisdom as well. If you don't have anything to give away, it depends when you did the steps and what you're
true.
doing. That there might be
Like
some
Alicia
wisdom in
said,
that.
they do that in Celebrate Recovery. But you know why? Because it takes that long to work the steps in Celebrate
Yeah, right,
Recovery.
right. So
Yeah.
Clarence used to say, when can you sponsor somebody? Well, when have you had a spiritual awakening? So Clarence would
Yeah.
have been okay with you after you finished your steps and you got a hold of it, that you go out there and sponsor people, which would be sooner than later.
Yes.
Um,
Yes. As soon as you've had that spiritual awakening as a result of the steps, which you cannot have as a result of steps you haven't done, as soon as you've had that, you know it's all the whole living in the go thing is great because we're always
right.
moving forward. So the next thing to do, are you excited about what you've experienced? Yeah. You have this relationship with the creator now. Yeah. Would you like to share it with somebody? Absolutely. Okay, here we go. And I'll help walk you through it. I'll sit with you your first time you talk to so and so, whatever. I'll help guide you through that. But it's time to do that now.
12-step
So
work.
yeah, here's what I want to say to people that are looking for sponsors. Please don't, just because you like what somebody says, make sure you find out that they have had a spiritual awakening as a result of the steps, because otherwise you're going to be being guided by somebody who doesn't have what they don't have it. So
So I like that, Monty. Now, it's interesting. We did a show on what the big book says and what it doesn't say. And it
yeah,
doesn't say after your 12-step wait a year to sponsor. It doesn't say that.
no,
But what it does also not instruct anyone to go help anyone until the 12th step. In none of the steps as you're going along is there an instruction to go share this message. But the 12th step is where that message is.
yes, that's where it's at.
So if your sponsor hasn't been through the 12 steps and like you said, had the spiritual awakening, they even according to mainstream AA, whatever, they shouldn't be sponsoring. The only time you can share it is once you've gotten it.
Yeah, agreed.
So,
Because there's a philosophy that says, well, as long as you're a step ahead of your sponsee, you'll be okay. I'm on
blindly,
step two. I'm on step two, and my sponsee's, he's already done his inventory.
blind leading the blind.
Excuse me?
Right. But let's talk about it once we do get into relationships. Once we do. So there's a couple of different scenarios, right, guys, that we run into. We run into like people who are in their active addiction, then get in a relationship with another person who may or may not be an addict, and disaster ensues. You have people who are not in addiction, maybe, and then start once they get involved. And people that then stop while they're in their relationship. So they're in the relationship with this person, and they are or aren't an addict too, and then they decide to stop. And all of those scenarios and more have all these different dynamics that play out as people are trying to grow and live clean and sober and interact with the opposite sex. It's just, I don't even know where we start with that. Maybe our own experiences. So, Monty, were you sober when you got married?
Yes.
So you're
Yes.
one who, your wife has no experience of you being in active addiction.
Oh, yes, she does.
Oh.
So,
Ow.
so I was introduced to her on a blind date. I was the outreach coordinator for an adult and teen challenge program. I had been through the program. I that Bible verse, don't lay hands on any man suddenly. Don't put a person in a position of authority or even service too quickly. Well, they saw some talents that I had, and they put me I created the first outreach program for the Pacific Northwest. They didn't even have one. And so here I was, all high and mighty, and ego just roaring, feeling great about myself and everything. And my first time I had a few days off, I relapsed. Well, we had been dating, and she's like, I didn't know he was a drug addict. I thought he was just a staff member.
No.
And everybody told her, lose the loser.
He was
Everybody told her that. Everybody told her that. But in her heart, she knew that I was the one that God had for her. And all she knew to do, okay, I'm not dating him, I'm not doing that, but I'm not giving up. And so she waited. And I went through the program again, and got kicked out the day before I was to graduate because they were mad at me. And I went and lived with her parents. Yeah, I lived with her parents and went and got a job, and then jumped into a 12-step fellowship, which I had never done really before. And everything changed. And so, but she watched me. I was a chronic relapser even after that for a long time. We got engaged, and the wedding was called off like 4 times.
Well,
Yeah. And then when I had that light bulb moment, and God spoke to my heart and said, when you stop depending on your prayers and start depending on the one you're praying to, you'll stay sober. And everything changed. Everything changed for me. And then we did get married. And nobody's a normie really, but I guess you could call her one. I mean, she was raised in open Bible. Her dad was a pastor. People say, oh, you were a preacher's kid. We know about you guys. Not her. She's squeaky clean, man. And to this day, she is the most angelic human being I've ever met. Blows my mind. What she's doing with a guy like me, I will never know, other than she was being obedient to God. So God, I don't know what you were thinking, but, well, you're God, so.
So thank you, God.
Yeah, right. You guys are quiet. What are you thinking?
Well, Alicia was still engaged in at least one of her addictions when she got married, right?
I was.
How'd that work out for you?
Well, we're still married, 10 years.
Yeah, I'm still married too.
Yeah, but yeah, I was sober from alcohol already, and then he met me when I was addicted to exercise and eating disorders, though he didn't know. He just thought I was. Actually, when he saw me first, he thought I was a drug addict because I was just like working out and really skinny and But he was attracted to that. That goes to show something.
About him, right?
Yes. He wanted to date me. So yeah, but I hid it for 5 years. I mean, I would
In your relationship?
No, I mean, I didn't tell him that I was actively in my eating disorder addiction for 5 years. Yeah. He just, I mean, I kind of just lied and hid things. He wasn't clueless because I told him, in my past, I said, I struggled with this because by then, 10 years ago, I was 42. So I would tell him, I had eating disorders when I was younger. I'm, still dealing with it because they started when I was 15. And then it just got to a point that I couldn't lie anymore. And I was sick and tired and I didn't want to do it. And the exercise stuff started slowly going because when I met him, I had 39 classes a week. So I had to get rid of some of those so I could be married and have a relationship. So I let go of those reluctantly. And then, in 2018, I was and Celebrate Recovery of all places. And now I'm a lot of counseling together and separate. And here I am. And it's amazing now because we went through that growth, but it was hard. It was really hard. And then I had to learn how to communicate and be honest. And yeah. What about you, Tom?
Well, I I've been married twice. My first marriage, I was sober the whole time. And we were sober both into it all the way through it. So even sober, that was a disaster for various reasons. But my second marriage now was right at the beginning of my relapse. I was, I was controlling it at the time, right at the beginning, and it just blew through that second marriage and then kept going for a year afterwards. It wasn't the only reason for our divorce, for sure. And actually, it wasn't the reason. The drinking was the reason. It just was going on, and I'm sure things weren't getting better because that wasn't allowing growth or communication or anything. And she was a drunk for sure and was not quitting and never thought about it. And still to this day, I think, doesn't even think about it. So we had to be divorced because I had to get away from it. But, boy, it sure does mess things up if it messes things up when you're drinking. But we were both drinking. So, but it was disaster.
Well,
I said to her towards the end, between me and her, there was a real connection, and so in many ways, it's been almost 20 years since we've been divorced. But at the time I said, the shame here is that there is a lot of good. And if we buckled down, we could probably make this work, and she wasn't willing. And I said, then we have to be divorced. But, so I might have, it took me another year to come back into recovery, but I might have made the change then had she said, okay, let's do it, But here's the thing that I've seen, guys. I've seen friends. Now, all of us now are dealing with people in recovery, right? Monty and Alicia.
Yep.
And from all these different scenarios, like we were talking about that whole, do you date for the first year? That's one of the things we see is people wanting to get back into the dating or date that aren't married or weren't married. But there's a phenomena that I've seen, which is married couples where one's the drunk or alcoholic, the other is not. And after a long period of time, maybe as much as 20 or 30 years, a very long marriage, the one gets sober. And I've seen marriages end when the person gets sober.
when they get sober, I've seen it too. Yeah.
Because they get to where they don't know each other. And the other thing is that the person that gets sober now wants to get back into the flow of the marriage and the children and have an opinion on everything. And I have seen probably a significant number go up in flames after the person gets sober, which is what all they wanted the whole time. Then they get sober and it blows it up.
Yeah, because the spouse doesn't know that guy or gal.
Right.
They've learned how to maneuver their addiction. It's just like an abusive relationship. They've learned how to maneuver the beatings and the isolation and all that stuff. Even though it's painful and horrible and destructive, they know how to make it work. And now it's a whole new scenario. Dad's sober now. He's not dishing out $20 bills to the kids every time they want one. We're going, especially Christian guys or gals, right? Well, we're going to start devotional life, you guys. I've been sober a week, and I'm telling you, and you're going to wake up at 5 a.m. and you're going to open up your King James Version of the Bible and you're going to get on your knees and thank God every day. And they're going, screw you, Pops. You know what I mean? And the wife's going, who is this person? And you're right. And the marriage goes.
The common thing is that the one or the other is doing the family raising the whole time.
That's right.
It's the same kind of thing. All of a sudden, the one gets sober now wants to start dictating authority or making decisions to change things. And the other one goes, are you kidding me? You don't got to say, I've been making these decisions for 20 years. You don't just get to magically come back in. And neither side, and I've seen this many times, can grasp that it can take some time, that we have to grow into it. The guy who gets sober wants everything back immediately. He wants to wipe it away, or she. And the other side does not want it to go away right away, wants time, really doesn't want to leave control anymore. Some do, but don't. And they're not so quick to just welcome back in. It's a tough thing, guys. I think it's a tough thing because they've been damaged the most, also the spouse and the kids.
Yeah. 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 So I can't tell you how many guys in my breakout group this last weekend were talking about, hey, I got to get back to work. We got a mortgage we got to pay for. I got to get back to work. I got to take care of business, blah, 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 blah. And they're new to the program at the Salvation Army. It's like they've got a few days under their belt and they want to leave the program because they got to go fill their responsibilities. It's like, pump the brakes, brother. I hear it all the time. And then people do it, and then we see them again, but not in a good way.
The other thing I hear too is in that same scenario of one spouse gets sober and the other isn't, is here comes this spouse who gets sober, right? 90 days in, they're having a party for them. And the other spouse is saying, are you kidding me? I raised a family, put this household together for 20 years. You get sober for 90 days and they're throwing you a party?
Yeah, I've seen. Oh, yeah, they get really mad. They go, all these compliments everybody's giving them. They're going, you don't know him like I know him.
Right,
He's a jerk. He's a jerk. I am sick and tired of people giving you attaboys.
Well,
Where's my attaboy?
That's the prodigal son story, right? So that son or daughter is worse, if there is, than the other one. We need to be forgiven. We need to forgive. We need to grow, get rid of our resentments. And that's why I feel and we believe like the family needs to get well together. So many times the spouse will go to a retreat or whatever and see like, wow, I need to be here. Not only them, but they have control issues because they've been controlling their addict spouse for so long, and resentments and anger, and they need to heal just as maybe more than the addict sometimes, I think.
In the chapter, The Family Afterwards, in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, it's very interesting because Bill shows his cards here. Bill loved to write and kind of making excuses for himself sometimes, And in the family after, he talks about things like, if I'm paraphrasing here, but if hubby is going out to hang with the boys, the AA guys, yeah, give him a break. It's just new for him. It's okay. Be patient with him. And I'm going, who are you? Are you talking about you, Bill? You know what I'm saying? It's like if you read Two Wives, which Bill wrote and Lois was not too happy about, he's kind of explaining it, making the husband look pretty good. And the little woman is not buying it.
So the other thing now is, so you have all those scenarios that happen, right? And then the one spouse saying, it's your problem, not mine. That's what I hear too.
Yeah,
When
he's the horse of the patootie,
the
not
other
me.
spouse, you've got to be involved. Can you come to some of the meetings? Come to a retreat. Go through the steps yourself. See what they're doing. Because this is as soon as you say, this is part your fault, that's when sometimes it can go really badly. I remember saying to somebody I know recently, why'd you let it go on for 25 years? There must have been something about it that you were getting out of this. It was working for you at some level, and if you say it wasn't, I don't know. 25 years, you don't have a piece to this somewhere? You never laid the law down? I don't know, right?
Yeah.
Now comes the normie and the recovered addict, alcoholic. Or the truly recovered alcoholic addict normie, and the normie, which is me today. Recovered with a normie. And it's interesting because I'm working a set of tools, not great, but pretty good, for 20 years. And the other side has not. They haven't needed to work a set of tools. So you are at this emotional and even spiritual level for sure, far beyond those that aren't working at it, guys, the way we are. Now, I'm going to get in trouble with this, maybe with listeners, but we
No,
all
but
know
it's true.
it's just true. The way we learn and the way we're guided to grow in our spirituality, it's a really personal relationship with some really great tools, and it's meant for us to do it all day long. It is not what the churches are telling people for the most part. And those that grow up in some churches and all, they don't have the benefit of some of the lessons of teaching that we have. The result is we kind of can come in emotionally pretty healthy into things.
I think too, in what you just said, that some people might take offense to, but it's not that they're not hearing it at church, they're not doing it. And us
Right.
being with the 12 steps, they're laid out, we have a sponsor, we do it. And so there's a little bit of a mishmash there. And then two, what you said, I'm in the same boat because my husband's a normie, though there's no such thing. And when we met, I mean, spiritually, I was in preschool, and now after 10 years, I'm actually maybe like this, and he has said, like, he's amazed. And he's like, wow, he's learning how to confess things. He's learning from me how to do step 5. So he does that now. And it's like, oh my gosh. But it's great for our marriage because I'm showing him and then he shows me other things. And yeah, it's pretty amazing. If you're doing the steps and doing the work, you might go up a notch in your emotional maturity and in your spirituality. Like you said, I'm totally, it's happening to us, which is not a bad thing.
No. Hey guys, we got to take a short break. When we come back, listeners, more with relationships in recovery with Tom Williams and Alicia Martinez from Came to Believe Recovery. Visit the website, cametobelieverecovery.org, for events and much more. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Hey, you. Yeah, you. Listen, are you looking for some great recovery workshops that you can download for fun and for free? Well, look no further. Visit our website at take12radio.com. Scroll down to the Recovery Workshops banner, and there you will find some of the most informative and vital workshops with the topics of recovery on the internet today. Included in them is Walking Through the Big Book with myself and Chris S., Step by Step Toward Emotional Sobriety with Dr. Alan Berger, and many more. Please check them out today. Take12radio.com and click on the Recovery Workshops banner.
I come back stronger. I was broken once, but not any longer.
Hey, this is Ricky Bird, and you are listening to Montyman on Take 12 Recovery Radio.
I come back stronger.
All righty, welcome back. You've tuned in to the Came to Believe Recovery podcast. Please visit the website, cametobelieverecovery.org. There you can see all about the Came to Believe Recovery Ministry. Listen, don't miss out on it. There's some really great information there. You can sign up for retreats, listen to our podcast, and a whole bunch of other stuff. Tom Williams, CEO of Came to Believe Recovery, and Alicia Martinez are on the show today, as usual. We're talking about relationships in recovery. Are you in recovery? Are you in a relationship? If you're in a relationship in recovery, are you truly in recovery? Some would say no. but who knows? And we kind of left off with, are you a person who is recovered and you're living a recovered life and you're in a relationship with a so-called normie, somebody that can't identify with some of the foibles that you have? Are there really any normies? Probably not. Everybody's got something where the tail's wagging the dog. But we refer to the ones that really can't identify with our particular issues. And so sometimes those family members, loved ones, or people we're in relationships with have empathy for us and are very supportive. Sometimes not so much. Sometimes they're confused, right, guys?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's hard. Relationships. Let's go out. And then just my side note is, the normie who finds one of us recovered really just hit the jackpot, right, Alicia? They hit the jackpot. They found
Yeah.
one of us.
We can help them. We can help them all.
I do get constant comments that I'm told I'm very emotionally mature and that I have a very good way of dealing with things, and the small stuff doesn't bother me, and things still bother me. I'm not perfect, but mostly it's how wrong they are. But that's a joke.
I was going to say, do you pay these people to post these
Yeah.
things? Or?
I
It's just
know,
a
right?
joke. But for family, the ones I've hurt the most took the longest to come around, guys. My family everyone's like mother, father, brothers and sisters. I mean, it was years, and they were still, a little gun shy of Tom. And I was still the loser brother. I was still the loser. They had a long time before respect came to me, even after going to college and getting a master's degree and passing half of them in academic, degrees. Still. And that's tough on the addict. It's tough on the person because it's, how long do I have to pay for this? Right?
Mm-hmm.
And that can be tough when you're in recovery. How long do I have to pay for it? My friend, I have another person talking about how long I have to pay who got sober, and the spouse would make them take a breathalyzer when they would come home late. A home breathalyzer, And so they put 90 days together, and now they're annoyed that wife asks them when they're a couple minutes late to do the breathalyzer, and doesn't so-and-so know. And I'm like, so for 20 years, you came home and did destruction. Now, after 90 days, you think that's going to just go away? It might not. So I said, what you should do, this is my advice to you, because they wanted me as the sponsor to go talk to the spouse and tell him to cut that out. He's good, And what I said to them was, when you walk in the door, 2 minutes late, go to the drawer, pull out the breathalyzer yourself, and blow on it.
Yeah.
Take these.
Do it. Right?
That's
Do
good.
it.
That's good because that kind of feeds their control issue. Okay, we'll give you a little control back.
Right.
But you're still going to be accountable.
Right. And you went in and did it. That's got to add some comfort to the spouse watching that happen. They didn't have to ask. They didn't have to do anything. That might go further than you think.
So Marcia knew that one of my big relapse line. It was interesting because one thing I didn't know that Celebrate Recovery. Listen to me. Came to believe recovery does is that form that Daryl. I think it was Daryl who presented it for like afterwards, right? I did this today. I didn't do this today. And in treatment, we call that recovery signs and relapse signs. You have a page of your relapse signs, a page of your recovery signs. Did I do this? Did I do that? And one of my things, a biggie that I guess you could call it a trigger maybe, was when I had more than $5 in my pocket. That was dangerous. It was dangerous. For some reason, if I had $50 in my pocket, a relapse was on its way. So I had to humble myself, and I had to give any money that I have like that to my wife. And I was permitted to have $5, no more. That was an agreement we both came to. We both came to that. And after a couple of years, guess what? I very seldom ever have more than $5 in my wallet. I don't care. I just don't care anymore, right? It's not like, because guys have a problem with this. I got to have money in my pocket. What are you buying today? Nothing. I just got to have it. You never know. I may need it. No, you don't. You know what I mean? And it was a pride thing for me. It was an ego thing for me. And now I could care less. Who cares?
Well, relationships, guys, all the way around. I think we could do 10 shows on it. We should probably bring the show back around again. another
Yeah.
time. I know from my standpoint, all the stuff I've been through, the tools I have now, the maturity I have, the lessons I learned from doing it all wrong. I love how the 12 steps, the way the founders intended, which are the spiritual principles that underlie it, and putting them to work in my life, are certainly a great foundation, and would signal very positive predictability in the ability to have a successful relationship. And I think anybody that's in recovery like ours and gets in it is pretty well set up for being not perfect, but you really do have a leg up in potentially being in a very successful relationship.
Amen. Amen. Alicia, your closing thoughts?
I would say just work on that honesty piece and be honest
You.
with yourself. If you feel like with the waiting a year or waiting at that, I too not sure. I've never told somebody to do that, but if you think it's a good idea, like I have one sponsee well, I have many, but this one, and she wants to date, she wants to be married, blah blah blah, and I just gently say, like, we need to be a whole person first, because then you're going to attract the wrong type of person. So just be honest with yourself. And also with like Monty not having $5, that was something he needed to be honest about himself and voice it
Yeah.
out loud. Have someone know what that is for you, and let them hold you accountable, because it helps. That's what I
Yeah.
would say.
Amen. Good stuff, guys. We will bring this back around and talk about it. Listen, listeners, if you'd like to comment on this show, we welcome your emails. Our email address is take12radio, that's TAKE, the number 12 radio, at Comcast.net, or you can just comment on the podcast or the YouTube version of this. And very possibly we'll share what you wrote. Disagree with us, love us, hate us, we'll take it all. We're not afraid. Yeah. So, listen, folks, our closing song this week is a comedic song. It's by Michael Purrington and the Messengers, and it's entitled Newcomers in Love. Here's Michael.
I saw you serving coffee at a meeting one night. You spiritually awakened me. I fell in love at first sight. I promptly admitted I was powerless over you, and to thine own self I promised to be true. Program and you are a blessing from above. The big book and the way you look are all I'm thinking of. Gee, it's great to be a newcomer in love. I turn my will and my life over to you. You're restoring me to sanity, just like step 2. I intuitively know you belong here by my side. Happy, joyous, and free. One day you'll be my recovering bride. Program and you are a blessing from above. The big book and the way you look are all I'm thinking of. Gee, it's great to be a newcomer in love. Together we could never be boring promise of the new millennium will fill our lives with wisdom and serenity. Someday we'll have a house full of little sponsees. The program and you are a blessing from above. The big book and the way you look are all I'm thinking of. Gee, it's great to be a newcomer in love.
The comedic recovery music of Michael Purrington and the Messengers. You know, the 12-step fellowships are as far-reaching and broad as the sands in the sea. And as such, we will hear a lot of views and opinions on the topic of relationships. To date or not to date. To develop new friendships or keep a safe distance. To divorce or to press forward toward solution, and so many more branches will stem from this one tree of topic of relationships. To say that there is one easy answer, method, or style to a healthy relationship agenda would be a bit naive. But there are some pretty reliable guidelines to follow that may help one to gauge whether or not they are using wisdom in the relationship arena. Here are just a few. Do you and the other people in your relationships have each other's best interest at heart? Are your relationships 50-50, or are they 100-100? When you are with this person or persons, do you feel safe? Do you have to compromise your values or morals in order to keep your relationship alive? Are you allowed the grace from each other to make mistakes? Are you able to keep your emotional center of gravity without losing yourself when the other person makes mistakes? Can you be transparent with one another on issues that matter to your relationship? And finally, do you respect each other's boundaries, principles of recovery, sobriety, and abstinence from past behaviors that are no longer in line with the way you now wish to live your life? Well, these are just a few of the healthy questions you may want to consider before jumping into any new relationships, whether they be romantic, a business agreement, or a close friendship. It's something to think about. Came to Believe Recovery strives to create and promote opportunities for life-changing spiritual experiences for individuals and families suffering from all forms of addiction. For more information, help, and support, visit cametobelieverecovery.org. I'd like to thank you for allowing me to be your host on this episode of the Came to Believe Recovery podcast. And I would encourage you to like, bookmark, and subscribe to this show. When you do, you will join the Take 12 Recovery Radio family and will be notified of all of our recovery-focused shows throughout the week. Until our next broadcast, when we provide the essential spiritual tools needed to thrive by sharing our experience, our strength, and our hope through our stories of how we came to believe.
This has been a production of Take 12 Recovery Radio.
Yeah, kitty, kitty, kitty. Meow.
Woof, woof.
This has been a Chicken and a Pig production.